Welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we cut through the bullshit
Greggy,
so we can get naked.
you can't say that.
Why not? How would you say it then?
Well, maybe more like, welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we undress emotionally so we can undress physically.
That's exactly what I said. Not sure what the problem is. Welcome to episode number
81.
Hey, everyone out there. We're really excited to announce something to you. We've been teasing you a little bit, telling you that we're going to have new offerings come out, and while we don't have all the details for you, we want to let you know that we will be having a new offer come out. We're going to have the ability to be able to have some broader group coaching and some fundamental courses for you that go over the basics of what we talk about. Look for that coming. It's going to be coming up here pretty quickly, and we're so excited to offer it. We put some blood, sweat, and tears into it, and Amy always gets on top of me, and I start crying when I do these things. She's a slave master task driver, and so it's tough. It's tough out there. All right. So today we want to talk about something very interesting. We see this topic come up a lot. There's some buzzwords around it. There's some confusion on what it is and what it's not. We've talked about it even in general about how some of it's kind of healthy in some ways in making love and in our sexual relationships. And so today we wanted to broach that subject.
Yes, and the subject is narcissism. And obviously, like whenever I hear that, I kind of have a gut response to, oh, wow. And I want to talk about all different sides of it today. Just to start out with, we're not really referring to the narcissistic personality disorder. It is a set of coping strategies that is an adaptation to a childhood family situation that left a person with unstable self-esteem, an inability to regulate that self-esteem without external validation, and low empathy. And that is a diagnostic personality disorder, meaning that you would have to be evaluated to actually have that. And the amount of people in the population that actually have this personality disorder, I hear anywhere from 1 to 5%. So it's a very small part of the population. And we're setting that aside today. We're not talking about an actual disorder. We want to talk about the narcissism that is in a spectrum that all of us may have different parts of. And I also want to talk about adaptive and maladaptive. So just to start out, we've had our granddaughter around a lot. And like all of us, we all start out as these adorable little narcissists that think the world revolves around them. And
the world does revolve around
it
her. What are you talking
does.
about?
We clap for her, we ooh and ah, we think she's the best thing. And all of us kind of start out with this, yeah, you should clap for me. Like I am the best thing. And all of her sense of self is coming from the people around her, from her parents, from her grandparents, from her aunts, her uncles, her friends, her teachers. And they're all feeding into this, you're great, you're great, you're great, we love you. And that's how we all start. We all start based on external validation from others. Every single human being that comes into this world is born pretty much needing that from others. And that is normal. And what you hope is that the adults around you were able to give you that love. We're able to give you that validation. We're able to say, you are really amazing without strings attached, without their ego attached, without you having to perform and be a certain way. And that happened for some and not for others, and to varying degrees. And the amount that your caretakers or the people around you were able to give you love, were able to validate your little narcissistic self, is generally related to the amount that you then developed past it. And so those that don't receive the warmth, the praise, where their performance is tied to a parent's or somebody's ego, or they have to be a certain way to be loved, those are the ones that tend to get stuck and stay in this narcissistic framing. And there's a whole spectrum. We talk not just, are you a narcissist or not, but that there's a spectrum of traits from maladaptive, those are like the harmful ones that we always associate with narcissism, to the more adaptive ones. And I don't know that we ever talk about healthy narcissism, or if that word's really hard for you to swallow, a healthy sense of self and ego. So maladaptive narcissism then is an extreme focus on yourself, a really strong desire for recognition or praise, a need to be superior or better than others. But the interesting thing is, underneath that is a very fragile ego. And what happens in this coping strategy of narcissism is that you're constantly needing others to validate your self-worth. And the narcissist will then show up in ways to make sure that they're always getting that. So I was in a coaching session with a couple and just talking with her as I do to get both sides. And he interrupts and says, "Why aren't we talking about me? Why are you saying this? Why are you asking her that and not me?" When I had literally just asked him his opinion and then it was hers. And the conversation and the coaching kept coming back to him over and over and over. And he was legitimately uncomfortable to hear anything that wasn't his point of view or his framing or the way that he saw it, or that didn't keep him the center of attention and focus. And I could watch him too as he would twist her words or gaslight her. And those tend to be traits of the unhealthy, maladaptive narcissism that show up, that you're in a conversation and your head starts spinning. Even in the coaching, my head would start spinning and I would think, wait, didn't he just say, wait, didn't I just hear? And you have to really keep centering yourself to know that your view of reality isn't distorted, because it really gets distorted really, really fast.
If you're sitting out there getting a little squirmy, it's probably not because you're a narcissist. It's probably because some of these tendencies are in all of us, right? And as Amy talked about, as we develop in that stage, it depends on how our development went. And we talk about me being a validation whore. So there was obviously narcissistic tendencies in there for me on the scale, because I was looking for that validation. I was looking for, how can I have a better sense of myself and worth? And so that's why we get a little squirmy, because we talk about that. Now, the far extreme that Amy's talking about is when someone cannot sit there and take anything but the focus on them. And I think a lot of us are on the spectrum that can handle that uncomfortableness, knowing that it's there, but rely on trying to extract that value out of someone else, trying to extract something from that they can't even give you, right? We talk about this in the validation portion of my life, is that I thought to be okay, I needed someone to approve my okayness or what I was doing. And that's why I sought it out, especially like through sex, through Amy. That's what I was pursuing her all the time, is because I wanted her to tell me that I was okay in this way. And I think maybe that in general, because of probably the purity culture and the way we're raised, is one of the areas in our lives we're probably not praised or talked to or validated in a way. And probably, so it probably shows up even stronger in those areas,
And I think
because
it's
there was
most
no
vulnerable
validation.
too,
Yeah.
right? Where we're most fragile, most open, most exposed. And so whatever coping strategy or defense mechanism you have, which again, we're not talking about the personality disorder, we're talking about this as a defense mechanism that we all have parts of, is going to show up even more in the more vulnerable places.
Yeah. If I think about it, we never talked about it. That was something we would not talk about as a family. My parents were deathly afraid to bring up sex or anything sexuality or anything of that. And so all it drove for me was the shame of it and the hiding my sexuality and trying to solve my sexuality. And so there's a lot of reasons as I look back and the way that I was raised, and it's not to find excuses so that I can excuse myself for the behavior that I don't like, but it's to show me, okay, this behavior is natural behavior based on where you came from, the thoughts that you had around your sexuality, the shame that you brought to the table. There are several things that happened as I entered into being married. that just reinforced that my sexuality was bad, that I needed to hide it. And because of that, the interesting part about that fragileness, like Amy talked about, it came out the opposite.
Grandiosity.
Yep.
And I was just coaching with the gentleman the other day, and he talked about like how he would brag and make it seem as if everything was amazing and he was having these amazing experiences because he needed the fragility of that vulnerability protected.
Yep.
And another coaching, I had a client talked about this need for validation and external. He was like, oh my goodness, I will tell someone if they don't immediately know how amazing I am, I will tell them to make sure that they know that I'm amazing. And he was like, that's grandiosity. And I'm like, yep. And then in a different client who was generally a very high achiever, and sometimes this really does hide in high achieving people because they're able to think that they really are that great because they have some achievements. But he talked about being in a room of other high achievers, and he almost had a panic attack because he was always the special one. He was the overachieving one. And then this was a conference of really highly successful businessmen. And he wasn't special in that conference. And he almost couldn't walk in the room.
They were going to figure it out that he'd been
They were going to figure
hiding
out
this whole time.
Yeah, maybe they were going to see through him and not know that most of the time he was faking it or just making it as he went along. And the fragility of his sense of self absolutely being dependent on his achievements, and then those achievements not being amazing in this room, like he couldn't even walk in it.
The interesting thing I hadn't thought about, but I think as we talk here, because we know ourselves so well as far as the thoughts and the things that are going in our mind, we know the intent of why we did or didn't do something. We have all the inside view. We also bring that out to the outside view when we try to hide it, right? So we know inside and we think, oh, they're going to discover that I'm not as great as I think I am. And that's why we got to put that frontage on and extract it out of them, because we're very worried they're going to discover.
They're going to see
through the con that we're playing,
act.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really what made the difference to me, was realizing that act wasn't protecting me, because there was no way that you could actually validate me because I had to decide myself. And so I was doing the decision anyway. I was just placing pain and suffering on people that I cared about, trying to extract that out of them. And that it was my job to determine whether I was okay with myself and what I was doing. It was my job to determine whether what was right and wrong for me. It was my job to understand my sexuality and determine whether it was bad or good. And it was a blow. It was a hard thing to take at first, but literally changed everything.
Yeah. And what you're talking about is all of us have these narcissistic, or a lot of us have some part of them. And I'm going to talk about another kind of narcissism that we don't know as well. But you can definitely raise your emotional maturity. You can definitely develop your emotional maturity so that you don't need the narcissist coping mechanism. You don't need that defense mechanism anymore. You have developed yourself past it. And so as we talk about this, don't make it like, oh my goodness, if I'm experiencing that,
Stuck in this forever.
I'm stuck. And that's, again, we're not talking about the personality disorder, but even with the personality disorder, there's work and support. We're talking about just the spectrum of traits that can appear in any of us, because if you think about the development from childhood to adulthood, there's a lot of experiences and things that are happening. And so at any point along the way, we're going to try and figure out how to survive. And there's a lot of ways that goes wonky. And so we develop these defense mechanisms, and that's entirely normal. I want to say real quick too, just because you're high achieving also doesn't equal that you're a narcissist. I want to make sure that's connected, because you don't have to base your self-worth on achievement. You can be very high achieving and not have your self-worth based on that. But I do think it can be a trap for the high achieving people, because it doesn't pressure you outside of that coping mechanism. You get to stay in it and you think it's working until, of course, like all of them,
Let me ask this question then
blow up.
too. So for myself and for us and our relationship, and I've seen this in many that I coached, the tendency is on the spontaneous desire person, usually the man, I find leans more into these narcissistic ways where a lot of my female people that I coach, they automatically have this terrible view of themselves. It's like you approach them and they're never good enough and they're not trying to cover anything up. They're just wallowing in their badness.
So let me actually talk about the other part of narcissism because you may be surprised. So covert is this grandiose, outgoing, entitled, overbearing, telling everyone how wonderful you are, based in achievements, competitive. It's usually exploitative in some way. You're always trying to get something, right? That's
Can
the,
I guess?
yeah,
The other side is victimhood.
it's very close. It's called covert. Yes. And so the other side is just the opposite. But like the overt, both of them are using control just in a separate way. So the covert is always the victim, always low self esteem, always trying to manipulate to get others' pity or help or approval. Oh, I'm never enough. I'm never enough. And what happens is they're using that to bring the people in and they're actually controlling them, just not in the overt way, the grandiose way. They're doing it from like the one down instead of the one up.
Did you find yourself that's where you were at?
I think that when there was a period of depression, I remember, I don't know that I was aware of it, but as I look back, like I don't know that I intentionally went, let me get depressed so I can draw your attention. But
Let's hope not.
I think like most things, we cry for help before we realize what we're crying about, what we're really wanting. And I have seen this in several men and women. And so I also would disagree that men tend to be more covert and women overt. Like, I don't know, I've seen both. I just coached a couple where the woman was definitely the overt narcissist. I think that depression can often be a coping strategy to keep the world revolving around you. It's a covert narcissism strategy. And I don't know at the time that I was really in this depression that I knew that or recognized that. But it can be like a way to keep the attention on you, a way to keep focus on you, a way to allow you control, even if you don't realize that's what you want.
Yeah. And I don't think you're saying that you intentionally went there to get that, right? Or that
No,
it wasn't a real thing that you needed real help for to get
right.
out of. And
That's
so
why I got to be
we're not
careful
saying,
about this.
we're not saying, hey, if you're depressed, then you shouldn't seek help with medical help with drugs
No,
or anything like that.
absolutely not saying that.
There's times that are necessary. There was times in your life when that was necessary and that was
Yes,
very
absolutely.
helpful. And but you're saying if you're to look at the track record and potentially why you felt like you went there, it was partially because it helped keep people close to you and have you a center of some kind of attention.
Right. In the midst of losing myself over caretaking, it was a way to say, hey, do I exist? Let me draw the attention back to me, even though none of it was positive or helpful. I don't think it worked at all. But it is a way to keep others revolving around you.
So let's keep the fire on you here for a second.
Okay, okay.
So I'm trying to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
I know a little bit about your upbringing and raising and stuff.
Yeah.
And we talked a little about where mine came from. I think it was very clear to me now that I look back where mine came from, the shame around it and the things that I had to hide because there was those moments where I wasn't told that I was good, that this was a good part of me. You had at least one parent that was very much your cheerleader that told you were wonderful. In fact, you had the opposite problem where you wanted to be perfect and you over exceeded and you were perfect. You had to get every grade right. You had to do everything right. So what was in those triggerings you think that would lead you to this point? Was it just that because you had been so successful and in control and when you came to the caretaker thing, you lost yourself in that and then that's what drove you to be in this covert narcissism? Or do you think there was something in that process of being raised for all of our other smart, beautiful, wonderful women out there that are high achievers and kick ass? Where did that come from?
So, yes, I did have a parent that did believe in me, and I'm very thankful for that. But he was also gone. he really wasn't in the home that much. He got up at 3 a.m. in the morning to go to work, and he didn't come home till 8 or 9 because he had a 3-hour commute both ways. So he had 6 hours of driving in every day. And so that meant I didn't see him a lot. My other parent relied on me as the oldest daughter to manage the household. She was working, and so she also wasn't home. And so I became the caretaker of all of my siblings and also the home and the processes and structures of the home. So I was parentified at a very young age. And then especially when my dad passed, that pattern was even exacerbated even more. And it was like, no, you are the parent. Like I had adults telling me
The
outside of
family's
me,
going to fall apart if you don't stay together.
you have to save this family. You're responsible for this family. And so like it was a literal explicit thing said to me. And when children can't grow up as children, when they take on roles of having to manage their parents' emotions or having to manage other siblings or having to manage the household temperament in some way, that usually leads to some type of defense mechanism or coping strategy. And mine was the covert narcissism. And so it was interesting to be a high achiever, but then with that. So it was like I was earning it, but not believing it.
Yeah. No matter what, you were never good enough. Yeah.
And so in a state of constant
But you were honest
never
about
feeling.
that.
Yes.
No matter what, I was never good enough, but I hit it. Yeah.
And I think I was able to manage that until a certain point. And it was the fourth child that really did me in with a really rough pregnancy. I had really rough pregnancies in all of them, but that one was especially rough. And I think just the overwhelm and the loss of self and not being able to manage all of the things, that covertness exploded. It got much larger and bigger. And it was really a cry for help, which often our coping strategies are, but I didn't even know what kind of help I needed.
Yeah. You didn't know you were crying for help at any
Right.
time. I think I find it very interesting, and it's becoming even more to my attention, what a paradox that mothers live in. Just a crazy paradox, because here you were so highly successful, valedictorian in high school. You went off to college, perfect grades. You succeeded in everything you did. You were high performing pianist. You name it. I met Amy and I couldn't believe it because she kept doing it, and she was absolutely fantastic at everything that she did. And so here she was, and then we made this decision that, hey, the best for the family, you're going to stay home and take care of the kids, which sounded really great at the time.
I don't even know if we really knew that there was another option.
We didn't probably think there was another option. And maybe that's the key right there, is we thought there wasn't another option, that we would ruin our family.
And I do love my kids.
Oh, absolutely. More
And
than anything else in the world. And that's why I
Yes.
find this interesting. And so you were set up in this dynamic of being a very successful, a high achieving person. And now the only thing that you could measure your achievements were was your kids, the house, the task.
Which
all those
nobody
many
wins at
things.
those.
Yeah. And this
There's
is where the
no-
paradox comes, is because all those things become overwhelming and not desirous. But yet, if you were to raise your hand and say, holy shit, I'm just dying over here
I'm
because I don't want to
drowning.
do it, you're saying my measure of my own value is worthless.
Yes.
So even to raise your hand is you're calling yourself worthless. So
Mhm.
you're stuck in this whole trench or downpour. I love my kids. I want to be here. These tasks are overwhelming, but they're tied to my value. I've always been a high achiever. Why can't I just get it together? Why can't I just achieve it this too? I must not really love my kids. I must be doing this wrong. My husband's needy. Why does he need me so much? What a shit show
Yes.
that you were in. And
Good
no
description,
wonder.
babe.
Yeah, I lived it. No wonder. And I'm over here on the very opposite. That's this is the problem, right? Because we play into each other's narcissism. I think.
Yes. And usually the grandiose seeks out the accommodator
Yeah.
or the nice person and vice versa, or the covert seeks out the overt. And we're looking to pair up our defense mechanism.
I could be grand and loud and protective of my inner child that's screaming, I'm scared to death. And it didn't bother Amy because she didn't want to be grand and loud. That's the last thing she wanted to do.
No, I
So
was,
she's like, you go be grand and loud. That protects me even more. I can be here quiet and achieving.
yes, yes. It's amazing. I watch so many couples and how well we perfectly pair
Yeah.
to make these patterns. And I
But
think it does give us a chance then to develop and
that's
work through
that's where
them.
I'm going is
Yeah.
the good news behind this all. Now they're all depressed. Thanks, Amy. The good news behind this is that if we can bring some type of awareness to it, if we can see it for what it is, if we can stop it, if we can say, hey, you know what? That's not really valuable to me. I need to rethink what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
The great part about it is that we can change that behavior
Yes.
pretty quickly. My validation went away pretty quickly when I'm like, I don't need that. And I would tell myself, and it comes on, it still comes on all the time. So
Yeah.
don't think it's gone, and it never will be gone. But when I can realize it and say, that's what that is, and I don't think I need it, and I'm going to not go there.
And I think as a parent, I realized, so actually the depression is what really led me to the wake up. So a lot of times the lowest low is where you actually finally go get help. And at that time too, I was starting the pattern over again, using my children's accomplishments as a
Yes.
measure of myself. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, no, we're not passing this on. And that's what can happen. That's why we're talking about these things, is so that you can be aware, you can be awake to these, you can recognize them, because what you're not aware of, you can't change. And that's what we're talking, like we're bringing awareness to these so that if something kind of sparks in you and you're like, ooh, I feel convicted here. That's your little clue. Hey, let's look at this, because these are totally about developing your emotional maturity.
Right.
That's really the opposite of narcissism, is emotional maturity, emotional regulation, right? Whether you're covert or overt or have some of those tendencies, the way to develop out of that coping strategy is through emotional maturity, and or learning how to emotionally regulate yourself so that you don't control others to get it.
Yep. And I mean, if you think of it this way, if I never would have gotten to the point of like, I can't take this anymore, and Amy will never be fixed, she's too broken, and she took 3 Jennifer Finlayson 5 classes, and she still doesn't want me like that she should, and so she's completely broken. If Jennifer finally wouldn't have come up with the "Hey dummy man, this is how you get loved" course, which she wanted to name it something like that, but she wasn't brave enough to
How to
name
be
it.
lovable?
How to be lovable. Instead of it's like the art of loving. If that wouldn't have happened, I could have been still stuck in this pattern, right? It was literally me being so at my ends with thinking, I desire and love this person so much, but there is something absolutely wrong. And I have tried everything to fix her, and I don't think she's ever going to love me. And I'm at the end. So I might as well take this course that Jennifer has. Maybe she'll tell me something. And
Oh, she did.
she slapped me upside the head.
You had your little wake up call.
In the most loving thing, but it was that wake up call that we're talking about. It was the light shine so brightly on the problem that I could not avoid it. But I was in that place where I was like, I was at the end too. I was like, I can't go on with this anymore. Our relationship can't make it anymore. I've already gone through the most painful things in my life. My shame through my sexuality cannot be this way anymore, because it is causing me health problems. It's causing me mental health problems. It's causing me problems with my relationship, my kids, my work, you name it. It was causing me problems. And so I was at that place, but it was that bright light shown on me that says, oh, I am on the narcissist spectrum. Jennifer didn't name it that, but she's called it validation. You're seeking this validation, trying to extract it out of somebody.
And you can do it very
changed.
covertly in this grandiosity, which is usually a cover for shame, and also vice versa, very covertly in this, I need your attention, constantly be validating me because I'm not enough.
Yeah. And that's why we're trying to say it. Like, we want to be that voice to you right now. If you feel like you're in this place, you can come out of it. You can have a very thriving, loving relationship. You can understand why you tend towards this and where it's coming from. Like I said, pretty quickly, it wasn't years and years of therapy that I sat in to overcome my validation whore-ness. I started a club and invited all the other men to come
So
in
if
there
yours
with
was
me.
validation whore, then mine was depressiveness. I
I
need a
don't
better,
know.
the depressed whore. No, that doesn't sound right.
Well, we might get the wrong kind of attention if you start calling yourself a depressed whore. I don't know. We'll have to think about that one, but
Yeah.
that's not the word.
Maybe it was a sadness whore.
Maybe so. They
The notice me whore.
notice me. Yep. I don't know what it is, but it's so interesting to see how we just perfectly coupled with each other in our ways.
Yep.
But again, the good news is when you figure it out and you're like, I'm not going to do this anymore, then those things that we have strengths in and the differences we have become the vibrancy of our marriage.
Right. And so that's where we get to adaptive narcissism. This is where and it may be easier to substitute narcissism for ego because we don't usually see narcissism as a positive thing, but really narcissism is relating to how you see yourself. And so maladaptive is you have a distorted sense of self, whether that's high in overt and really low in covert. But a healthy narcissism is a normal, healthy version of yourself. You can see where you are achieving well, where you're working hard, where you need improvement. You can take criticism. You can hear feedback. Your sense of worth is relatively stable, meaning that you can weather some of the ups and downs and storms and highs and lows. And you're not doing this, I have to control others around me to be okay. Obviously, there's discomfort and other things that can happen, right? I'm not saying everything is rainbows and daisies and unicorns, but you're not making it personal or taking yourself down or having to go to grandiosity to be okay or having to go down to, I'm not enough, make me okay. And so this healthy narcissism is when that you have worth. And that's the narcissism that you bring into the bedroom.
Yep.
That's the narcissism that says, I'm here, I'm worthy, let's have some fun, and is leaving the anxieties and the am I enough or the grandiosity of you have to do this or the entitlement of I'm owed this. All of those are not present in that healthy narcissism.
I'll tell you, moment by moment, it's probably a little more painful. Because when I was on the narcissistic scale and I was seeking validation, I hid it for myself and I pushed it down. So in the moment, I was like, oh, I don't have to deal with that. I'm okay. I don't have to deal with that. I'm okay. But the problem was it didn't go away. It didn't get dealt with. It came out sideways.
Mm-hmm.
It came out in pornography. It came out in overeating. It came out not taking care of myself and my health. It came out in all kinds of variety of ways that I didn't really like or the people around me didn't like. And it was exacerbated. It was multiplied. And that's what the pattern you see. And so with this new change of being aware of it, being aware of your worth, being well aware of what's going on, I would say day to day sometimes is more challenging because I see it. Instead of pushing it down, I go, oh, shoot, I got to do it.
Right, you're not shutting it off or suppressing it.
And
You're
this
like,
last couple of weeks, I've been coming to Amy. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. This is how it's going. I'm overwhelmed about this. I'm not dealing well with that. Like, I'm so aware of it, and it's annoying. Almost.
you mean you can't escape and
No, you just can't
distract?
escape to your fake world. But because I have been able to deal with it more in the moment and go through that pain right now and not put it off, it allows me to be real.
Mm-hmm.
It allows me to be honest so you know me.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it allows me to have fantastic sex.
Because you're knowable.
Yes, because you want to know me and be part of me
And it's
share
not a
everything.
grandiose, entitled, or I am not enough victim. It's you, which is all of your achievements and your flaws, all of your quirks and your amazing parts, all of your wonderful and terrible. It's this whole being of you and the whole being of me. And that's the healthy narcissism that allows you to really enjoy intimacy in meaningful ways.
Yep.
Because you're not asking it to prove something,
No.
right? You don't have that fragile sense of self that you're trying to make sex prove that you're okay. That's what destroys desire and eroticism.
And you need a little bit on both sides as someone to pursue you and you being able to give into that and be consumed, that's where this magic happens. It takes me being a little bit like, I know who I am and I'm okay with it. And I'm going to go take what I need. And that's you.
Yeah, I was
Now,
just going to say that.
it sounds in the worst way outside of that, right? Like, I'm going to take what I want and that's you, like in the worst way. But when you're open and you're vulnerable in that way and you're truly in the thing, then the other partner's like, yes, take me.
Yes.
I surrender. Right?
So I just had a coaching session and the wife literally said to her husband, I would really love to see you unleashed and unabashed. And what she was saying was, bring me your healthy ego.
Yeah.
That healthy ego that desires me so that I can enjoy your desire so I can bask in it.
Yeah, because if you're doing it to take from you, it's not really that healthy pursuit, right?
Right. So you have
as soon as it becomes healthy, you're like, yeah, I like this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. That healthy narcissism allows you to pursue. And then also as the receiver on the one being pursued, a little healthy narcissism allows you to say, yeah, I'm worthy of being pursued.
Yeah, come get me.
Get me.
You want me.
Yes.
You want all of this.
Yes. And when you say, I'm going to do things to you that blow your mind, I'm like, let's get started.
Yeah.
And it's the healthy side. We're not asking each other to solve our fragile egos or our insecurities or anxieties. Again, we're not perfect. We make mistakes all the time. We're very human, but we're not bringing that to the bedroom.
Yeah. And it sneaks in sometimes. But the nice thing about it now that we're aware of it, and the painful part about it is when it sneaks in, we can see it. Mm-hmm. I always say this, these things don't go away. You're never going to live in this perfect life of perfectly being in the middle and always being in this differentiated spot. It's not going to happen.
We're too human and complex and nuanced and too many things happening in all the day.
Yeah, you're going to swing back and forth through life. The nice thing about it is the width of how far you swing out to one side or the other, I think, gets smaller. And you can notice pretty quickly, oh, I'm way over here. I don't want to be here. Or your spouse can say, hey, I don't think that's quite right. What's going on over there? And before, when I was a narcissist, and had my tendencies in that way, in the way that we talked about it, I couldn't take that because I was too fragile. When Amy goes, what is going on over there? I think maybe you're having an emotional problem. If she would have told me that before, I would have freaked out.
Yes. And it would either be gaslighting me. No, I'm not the problem. You're the problem. What are you talking about?
Or it's not happening.
It's not happening. Or how dare you? You don't appreciate me or whatever. It would be twisted.
I'm protecting myself. I'm protecting that
fragile
ego. Fragile thing that I had made up that no one can really know what's underneath that.
Yes, absolutely. And I was just as fragile the other way. Like you couldn't tell me when things weren't working because I was already so low. And
you would end up in the closet crying. Like
how could you bring me down even farther? And it wasn't that you didn't say wonderful things about me because you did, but I couldn't receive them because I didn't know it for myself yet.
Right. So if you're hearing any of these things, one, congratulations, you're a normal human being, right? So remember that. Like when we're saying this, we're not convicting you of anything. We're telling you like, this is normal tendencies. We're trying to make you aware of them so that when you're aware of them, you can have a voice to them that you can say, I choose something different. Because ultimately that's all we want. We want choice to be able to decide how we're going to deal with it and to be chosen, which our significant other, our spouse cannot do because Amy only knew the version that I put out there for her. She had no idea what was
it was
underneath.
Your armor. Yeah, like your shield and armor covering who you actually were, but it was like your front.
And the crazy part about this is when we had the couple on a few weeks ago and they talked about this, right? And I asked Michael, I said, Michael, what was it like when you said this? When you told your wife what was really there and you admitted these things going on? He says, a great relief.
Mm-hmm. And she was so proud of him.
And I was so proud of him. I told him how proud I was. And I'm like, did you expect that? And he's like, no.
The thing that we're protecting so much.
Yeah. You're ready just to be lambasted and killed over it. And really the person's like, finally. Because
they're already experiencing it.
Yeah. The thing is, Amy knew there was something under there that was not right. Yes. She knew that I was covering something up.
And you knew that I was asking for too much attention through pity or victim. Yeah. It wasn't like it was any surprise to you.
Yeah. So we're living it and we understand each other. We can read each other so very well, having been with each other so long. So it's even silly that we think we can hide it from each other. But that's what we spent doing. We spent 17, 18 years trying to hide from each other.
Yeah.
And
Trapped in our
how
own
intimate is
blindness.
that?
Not very.
Oh, if she finds out, they're hiding that.
Yes. And I was afraid to have you really know me, because then for sure it would be proof of just how terrible I actually was.
Yep. I think ultimately, whether we go covert or overt, that's the bottom line, right? We're afraid to be able to show that vulnerability because then they would know.
Yep.
And she knows. And she's still here for some reason. Maybe she's sick or something. I don't know.
What? Excuse me.
But we really want you to know that if these things sound familiar to you, again, it's not to send you any further in that covertness or overtness, right? Because that could be the tendency. The first thing you're saying, I'm going to build the wall more, or I'm going to go pity myself more. It really is to bring light to it, to know that there is hope, there is change, that we don't live in that every day anymore. We have our struggles. We mess it up every once in a while, but we're able to be open and honest with each other of where we're really at. And there's hope for you. You can do that too. Even if you don't believe it, you can, because we've seen hundreds of couples be able to do it too. It's not just us. It's been nice that we've been doing this long enough, because I think when we first started talking, we're like, oh yeah, it can work. You can see it on us. And now I can sit here and I can say, and we've seen it work on hundreds of other couples too.
We have witnessed the ability to emotionally mature and regulate yourself be like life-changing, not only for your life experience, but for your marriage. But I also don't want to sell a destination and that's where you land. It's something that you continue to do always, and that development is continued. But if you don't even know that's what you need to develop, it can be really confusing. Yes, please come schedule a consult with us. Let us support you in your journey. We would love to help you. And I also have one more ask, kind of off topic, but we would love to have any of your questions. What do you want us to answer? Send any and all of them, and I'll be putting this out on my weekly email too. What situations or questions do you have about your marriage that you would love to hear us chat about?
Yep, we're grateful for you listening, and we appreciate it. And until next time,
Keep undressing your intimacy.
bye.